Alright, yo, what's good, YouTube? So, as you guys probably know, I made 50k in my second year of trading. But what you guys probably don't know is to get there, I had to quit 4 habits that every trading guru told me were completely essential. These habits kept me completely broke for over a year, and the day that I just stopped doing them, everything changed. If you're doing any of these 4 things right now, then you're sabotaging yourself and the success of your trading journey. So, let's fix that. I'm gonna move these out of the way for now, and we'll get on to our first one. Now, the first habit that I just completely quit was obsessively checking the balance of my account. Every single trade, I was watching the profit and loss ticker. It would go up $50, go down $50, back to break even. And by some point, I was just trading my emotions. I wasn't even trading my strategy anymore. And the main reason as to why it was destroying me is because when I was in profits, so I was literally correct on a trade, I would be closing early just to secure profits. Even if my TP logic was correct, even if my predetermined rules were telling me to hold, I would just exit. And I would hold myself back from letting my provably winning strategy do what it does best. On the other hand, when I would see a trade in the red, I would maximize my stop loss. I would increase my stop loss just to not get taken out of it. And that was my ego talking. My ego was telling me to move my stop loss so that I was never wrong in a trade. And I would just cross my fingers and pray that the trade would reverse and just run to my take profit. Obviously, this was not a good strategy. This is not how trading works. And it would just turn my good risk amounts within my risk management plan, so 0.5% or 1%, all the way up to losses that would blow my account in one single trade. And like I was saying, by this point, I wasn't even trading my provably winning supply and demand strategy anymore. I was just trading emotions and fear. This all changed when I stopped looking at my account balance like a value and started looking at it like a percentage. This still might not work for some people. It might be better to just completely hide your account balance in general. This might sound extreme, but it forced me to trust my back-tested system and made me focus on the executions and not the dollar amounts. And the result was my scalping strategy going from a 20% win rate, it was probably that low, all the way up to what it should be, sitting around a 60 to 70% win rate, which on my strategy with the risk to rewards that we get consistently is insane. I don't want to talk about my strategy too much in this video, but it did make me insanely profitable. And that is the main difference between being broke and making 5 figures every single month. So in general, I can say quitting this habit was essential to my trading success, but in comparison to some other stuff that I'm going to talk about in this video a bit later, it is still relatively mild. So I'm going to put it right in the middle at a B tier. Once again, something you should definitely implement and start doing, but the other habits that I had to quit were definitely more of a detriment to my trading, which is going to take me on to number 2. The second habit that I quit was placing trades without waiting for all of my confluences to line up. More times than not in trading videos, I was told to place trades on what I thought was right. But when starting out, you don't actually go off your brain, you go off your ego. So I was taking trades off of just gut feeling instead of, well, for me, waiting for that proper liquidity supply and demand confirmation. I'd see price moving up and just think, well, this is going to continue going up, right? No structure, no draws on liquidity, not even looking at key levels. Just enter my trades and pray that it continues going upwards. More times than not, I was wrong. And that's because I was entering random zones that had no institutional backing behind them. There could be bearish structure leading into a demand zone. I'd still take it. One candle liquidity, good enough for me. I'd just enter. And by some point, you couldn't really call it a trading strategy. You can just call it gambling. The main shift happened when I made a checklist of all of the confluences that I had to wait for in order to be confident in my setup. And that could be market structure, no invalidations, valid level of liquidity, all of these things that I'd be ticking off, and if enough of them lined up, I would enter. After I made this switch, once again, my win rate just jumped because I was only taking A+ setups. I went from taking 20 trades a day to 3 to 5 potentially a week, which gave me so much more freedom because I had so much less screen time, as well as a significant amount more profits because the trades that I was taking were just less risky. Before, I would potentially be trying to catch a falling knife, trading off of invalid zones just because it gave me the opportunity to. I would take aggressive entries, not waiting for a valid entry model, and it really doesn't even matter the strategy. You can see how this is dumb to do on any. So by waiting for the confluences that line up with your provably winning strategy through backtesting, you would be minimizing that gap between perfectly backtested results and good live market performance. So for these reasons and the clarity that just quitting this habit actually gave me, I'll definitely chuck this into A tier. This is one of those core habits that quitting just took me to profitability. I was trusting my strategy so much more, and with some experience and letting this play out, I saw the difference, firsthand. Now, similar to over trading, over risking is going to be one of the most common problems that every beginner trader has. So I'm talking about risking 2 to 3% per trade, which is a bad habit to have. I've had students that started off by risking 10% per trade, and it's always under the same premise of wanting to make money faster. And this is how I was just blowing through accounts like they were nothing before I got serious. So one bad trading day, meaning like 2 to 3 losses, would get me close to, if not just completely blowing that account already. And then if I was close to losing the account, that would always just end with trying to revenge trade, taking another maybe 2 or 3 trades, and it would always end up with fucking up my previous profits, which seem like daily. And it really is an endless spiral. I'll be profitable for maybe 2 to 3 weeks and end up blowing all of that hard work in one emotional session. Stopping this was really as simple as maximizing my percent risk per trade, as well as maximizing the amount of trades I took per session, with no exceptions, even if I was sure about a setup. And this felt painfully slow. It felt like I was getting nowhere, but the consistency that it showed, even in a couple weeks of just pure consistency, was insane. The risk management plan that I now had would open me up to 20 potential losses in a row without even blowing my account. Now, this level of psychological safety allowed me to execute my provably winning edge in the markets every single day without fear. And that mainly comes with no hesitation on entries anymore, which is one of the most common problems that I see my mentees have. And these small consistent wins compound so much faster than any big risky bets could ever. Now, for example, let's say we're on a 100k account with a win rate of 50%. Once again, this is lower than I usually get. We're waiting for those better trades, so a 1 to 3 risk reward is very common on my strategy, and we will let this edge play out over 100 trades with a viable risk percentage, which is going to be 1%. Now, after starting this simulation, we can just see how profitable this equity curve is, with an average max drawdown of 6.2% and an average account gain of 180%. And this is going off the average after all of these different accounts are tested. Now let's leave that win rate at 50%, which is hella generous, with our average risk to reward being a 1-to-1. Once again, like going back to habit 2, our psychology is fucked up, so we don't really allow these to play out. And once again, let this play out over 100 trades with an average risk per trade of 3%. We're trying to make money faster, right? And after starting this simulation, we can see completely different results, with the average max drawdown being 35%. These prop firm challenges that we're going to be trading allow for 10% max drawdown consistently. So this level of psychology and risk is not going to be viable trading at all. You can't get lucky. Your average performance is negative, because every single market is going to have losing streaks. That is inevitable. So your risk management plan needs to directly reflect that. Once again, this level of consistency really did just change my trading entirely. And this is going to be another A tier. I think if you're not implementing a good risk management strategy, then it's going to be just as bad as gambling. It's like you're full porting every single trade. But now I'm finally going to get onto the habit that I think was absolutely essential, like the main habit that really took me to profitability after I quit it. And it's going to sound counterintuitive, but it is completely not relying on any other trader. Now, I'm not talking in terms of accountability. That is one of the most essential things that you need in trading. I'm talking about just straight trade signals. I used to be in Discord groups that really were just signal rooms. I'd see something like gold, buy now, and then I'd enter a setup without understanding what the fuck was going on. And this is never going to work because I didn't know where their stop loss was, and I didn't know where their take profit was, what their account balance was, what their risk management plan was, and especially when they'd exit. They could potentially get out in profits or say they got out in profits. Once again, you never really know. But I'd hold and watch the entire trade just run straight to my stop loss. Even if the trader was profitable, it's almost impossible that anybody else can be too. And this is the most important and actually the easiest to overcome. And you just need to stop following signals entirely. Don't join any of these Discord rooms that don't implement learning and just implement signals. If I couldn't identify the supply and demand zone myself, then I wouldn't enter the trade at all. And after I did this, I felt everything change. I backtested over 1,000 different setups, and I made my strategy what it is today, the LSD model. I stopped just trading blind and built a playbook for pattern recognition. Trades that appear in the market every single day and ones that I personally trust enough to enter. Now I have a Discord where I do send my trade ideas, but it is a community mentorship where I teach my system, not just send signals. My members actually learn to see setups for themselves. And that's exactly the kind of traders that I want to teach. Ones that actually want to interact and learn, not just copy signals in silence. And for this reason alone, this is genuinely the one that really took me to profitability. And it just completely made me stop relying on anybody else, which was not only rewarding mentally, but rewarding for my profits. I finally got to the point where I could pass these accounts, get payouts consistently, and teach you guys to do the same. Now here's what changed when I finally quit these 4 habits. In year 1, I was checking my balance, which led to emotional trading. I had no confirmation for my trades, so I was just pretty much gambling. High risks per trade led to multiple accounts being blown, and following signals just made it impossible to understand any setup that I was looking at. And now after I quit all of these habits, hiding my balance led to better execution in the markets daily. A strict checklist led to more than triple my old win rate percentage. 1% risk consistently led to profitable psychological safety. And most importantly, doing my own analysis allowed me to master my strategy. And at the end of everything that I've said, my trading strategy hasn't changed at all. It's just that the trader themselves did, which is me. Now, if I'm being completely honest, this was hard as fuck to do. Hiding my account balance, I just felt blind, and risking 1% consistently felt like I was in slow motion. But all of that discomfort was literally just my ego dying. My need to feel busy, my need to feel like I'm constantly doing something, all just went away. And I stopped feeling like I needed to feel like a real trader and actually just became one. And this was when I could finally consider my trading profitable. So I think I've made it clear enough that you guys need to quit these habits, but I want you to pick one specifically that you can take into this week that you think you're struggling with the most. Any of the ones I've said, once again, trading is different for everybody. But if you want some more personal advice or just some more information on the strategy that I trade, the checklists, the session timings, the risk management plans, that is all what I teach in my Discord. And that's why so many traders now trust me to take them to where they want to be. The link to that is just going to be down below. But whether you join or not, just stop doing these 4 things. Subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.